Welcome to The World Awaits.
Travel tales to inspire your wanderlust.
I'm Kirsty Bedford, journalist, editor and travel writer.
And I'm Belinda Jackson, author, travel journalist and columnist, and we're your weekly co-hosts.
Welcome back to The World Awaits. How are you all?
Hi, everyone.
So as we are recording this, Belle is just off an epic 3.5-day trip to get home from Eastern Europe. Oh my God. Such a rough ride. And she messaged, actually she and the third person, you're sitting right here in front of me. Belle and I had a chat we're chatting on WhatsApp on Thursday, and then all of a sudden it was like 3 days later before she got home. So yes, not great times, and a sign though, unfortunately, of the Middle East conflict not only causing sort of shocking loss of life, but also the impact it's having on the travel industry is caused all these huge delays in flight diversions, which you got caught up in, Belle.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, I'm fresh off the plane this morning. I left Bulgaria at 6 a.m. on Thursday, and it's now Sunday. I got home at 11 a.m. today and Sunday. So from Thursday till halfway through Sunday, I was flying with Qatar, and I was going from the Bulgarian capital, Sofia, to Doha, then Doha to Kuala Lumpur, and then Kuala Lumpur to Melbourne. So it was a bit of I couldn't get a direct flight from Doha straight through to Melbourne because of the school holidays. So in all, it was just going to be 3 flights, 21 hours, bang on through. However, my initial flight from Sofia to Doha had to skirt around the closed Iranian and Iraqi airspaces. They're usually the fastest routes from Europe to the Middle Eastern hubs. So because of that extended having to skirt around those areas, I missed my Doha to KL flight and had to stay overnight in Doha. That's okay. Drank a bit of mango juice, went down to Sukhwakov. I'm dealing with it. The next morning, up again at 5 a.m., back to the airport. The aircraft had a malfunction on the screen in the cockpit. So we waited for 5 hours until we could fly to Singapore. And so, of course, by the time I got into Singapore, I'd missed yet another flight back to Australia. So I was back into another hotel, this time the Carlton, right in the centre of Singapore, literally opposite Raffles Hotel. And then back to the airport late last night. And in all, it was about 80 hours to get home.
Oh my God.
Oh, just brutal. Kirsty, it was brutal. At one point, there were a few tears when the second time they said you've got to stay in a hotel. It was like, hey, you've got to stay in a hotel. It was like,
I was thinking as I was talking to you, you were holding up a bit too remarkably well. I was waiting for the crack.
Oh, there were cracks. There were definitely cracks. Usually when Qatar was amazing actually, because it had all happened while I was in flight. I was actually, both times I came off flights where they were sticking me in hotels, there was a rep standing right outside the doors of the plane with new boarding passes and hotel cards.
But it's just so fatigue, isn't it? Like it's hard enough on its own, but I have to say you cope really well with and look, this is evident of what we were talking about last week about how you just, go in time and get sleep wherever you can.
Oh, yeah.
Obviously that,
Little cat naps here and there. I got lucky one of the flights. I had the poor woman's business class, which was a strip of 3 seats. So I was like, bang, that's it. I'm catching this time at, and just catching naps where I could. I had planned to, do heaps of work and read, and I had all of these books and articles to catch up, and I did nothing. I just kind of wandered in a bit of a daze, but it was nice to catch up on Singapore again, because I haven't really had any time in the city since, I think, before COVID. I've transited through, but this was the first time I'd been out back in the streets, and so much going on, so much energy.
And look, this is just how it goes sometimes, isn't it? We have these grand plans of writing and reading, but the reality is sometimes, with travel, it is tiring. It doesn't, it can be exhausting just to do short travel, depending how long you've been waiting around the airport. But yours was pretty epic. So, well, while Belle was doing that, and she will be writing about that too, so she'll tell you about that later. I had a couple of interesting tourism board events back here in Australia. So I had a really lovely lunch at the Stoke House in St Kilda. I don't know if anyone's been there. If you're down in Melbourne, it's definitely a great place to go. Gosh, it's beautiful. You just literally on the overlooking the water and the beach and the foreshore, with people cycling and running past, and the palms. It's so pretty. And yeah, so we were with Santa Monica Travel and Tourism, who are very excited to get Australians back to the sunny shores in California. So yeah, definitely was a lovely way and very fitting given the locale. And then I also went to a presentation by the Italian National Tourism Board, where they've revealed this really exciting new initiative. I think it's such a cool marketing idea and a really smart plan. So basically what it's all about is it's called the Italia Project, and it's about journeying back to your roots. So they're actually targeting the hundreds of thousands of people with Italian heritage who live here in Australia. So basically they've launched this initiative where they've got 640 partners involved, offering experiences that include helping trace back your ancestors. So what you do is you go onto Italia.com if you've got Italian heritage, and you can type in where your ancestors are from, and it can literally trace back for you. And so you can do a personalised itinerary and go back and have this incredible emotional experience where you reconnect with people who probably knew your ancestors if they're still there. And then also it gives you obviously the various things to do in those areas, and it's about really trying to get people back out into the region. So a lot of the smaller regional tourism boards were involved, but just what a cool thing to do.
What sort of ancestors are we talking about? We're talking about the last couple of generations, or how far back can you go?
Well, basically, I haven't done it because I don't have any Italian ancestry, and I haven't looked back through it. But if you go onto the website, you can actually the partners will actually help you trace descendants. So they can help trace back your descendants from, so maybe, I don't know, grandparents or great-grandparents or whatever. And then when you've traced back your lineage, they will actually help create an itinerary for you. So you can go back and trace steps that your ancestors probably walked.
Oh, I love it. It sounds like a really thoughtful and emotional way to travel too. And, who doesn't want to go to Italy, regardless of, whether you've got family heritage or not. So a new trend report from Hilton shows that Gen A and Gen Z are the key decision makers in the travel process. But before we delve into those findings, some of you may have seen the story about how UK television personality of Location, Kirsty Allsopp, posted on social media about her 15-year-old son's rail trip through Europe with a 16-year-old friend. She explained that her son and his friend travelled to the major cities including Paris, Brussels, Amsterdam, Berlin, Barcelona and Madrid, just the two of them.
And boy, did that set social media alive. An opinion was divided about whether or not it was too young and whether or not, as a parent, you should allow it. And everyone has jumped on the bandwagon. If you've got anything to do with travel, if you're following travel, you would have seen this. So CNN Travel said that from a legal perspective, it doesn't appear to violate any laws because they actually travelled with Interrail, which is a type of train pass that enables passengers to take advantage of the open borders.
Sky News also reported that after he returned, his mother, Kirsty, was contacted by a social worker who informed her that a file had been opened because child protection concerns had been raised. Interestingly, the kids in this story were using that Interrail pass, which is sold in Australia as a Eurail pass. And that's the same one that I was using on this Greek and Bulgaria trip I've just been on. But allowing a kid to go off backpacking at 15, I can't really comment from personal experience. Things are so much more different, than when we were kids traveling, because now you're always contactable. But I don't know if me or my child will be ready for that kind of responsibility of making the right and the smart choices. I mean, is their accommodation safe? Are they going out drinking or trying drugs? Will they find themselves in vulnerable situations? What do you think?
Yeah. I think it also does depend on the kid. I mean, my oldest son is super responsible, and probably if we lived on that side of the world, I'm not sure. I don't know because I'm not in that situation, but I'm not sure if I would have such an issue with it if it was him. Although 15 is so young, but my Mr. 16-year-old, well, he'd be out there having a lot of fun, and I would spend the entire time stressing so much. I really don't think I could handle it. But my kids have been flying back to New Zealand alone not very often, but they have flown back alone from about the age of about 10. But it's completely different, of course, because they're met by someone at the other end. They're not just going to New Zealand and then traipsing around on their own. And they tracked, because Air New Zealand has this very thorough system, so where the kids are sort of tracked along the way.
Yeah, well, you're lucky because, none of our family is within a direct flight range. There's always a change somewhere. And we've talked about it, and I'm just not comfortable about my daughter changing flights somewhere like Dubai just yet, even as an unaccompanied minor under the cruise watch. But even if we're not happy for them to go alone, it seems that apparently our kids are making all the travel decisions. So according to that Hilton report we mentioned earlier, 71% of Generation Alpha and Gen Z in Australia are deciding on the family travel plans. And 60% of these young travellers expect to travel at least once a year. That's pretty cheeky, don't you think? But, I mean, seriously. But honestly, if you only talk, to your kids' friends about what they're doing in the holidays, most of them are heading, or many of them, I'd say, are heading overseas at least once a year. And some even more than that. Can I just say, the business class section that I flew back into from Singapore to Australia today was chockers full of kids. I'm talking like 12-year-olds. Like the whole family was in business class. So not only are they travelling overseas, they're travelling overseas better than you and I do, Kirsty.
God. Yes. So the report found while music concerts and outdoor activities top the list of travel motivations for these young people, with sport events like FIFA Club World Cup and NRL Grand Final in 2025 the hottest tickets in town, they also have a strong connection to cultural heritage. Interesting, because that's exactly what Italian tourism has just done. And it found that 73% were eager to explore their roots through travel.
And as for where they want to go, apparently they're as excited about exploring Australia as they are with international destinations. Asia is an area of particular interest amongst this age group, along with New Zealand, America and Hawaii.
And not surprisingly, technology is important to them, with Gen Z spending on average 3 hours daily on devices. I'd say it would be a lot higher than that. I have 2 Gen Z kids, but anyway. And so phones were the highest, followed by iPads and other tablets, gaming devices, and nearly 50% of them listening to podcasts and music.
And so access to technology is rated as the top amenity for these travellers. And Hilton says that this trend of younger family members being the key decision makers as it accelerates, it's important for hoteliers to be mindful of creating experiences for this generation and their families. So, Kirsty, do kids have a say in your travel plans?
When they were younger, I think I was a bit more conscious of going to places for them. So, for instance, places near theme or water parks. But as they've got older, I think it's more important for them to understand new cultures. So we'll do things like bike around small, uncrowded islands where they can sort of experience local life. And when we went to Europe earlier this year, I did want them to see the cities, and that's why we went to the overcrowded places like Rome and Barcelona, which I was reluctant to do. But I really wanted them to get a well-rounded European experience. And but the decision about Sardinia was all about us. So I mean, the Wi-Fi wasn't great, and we were staying in locally run 2 or 3 star properties and cycling for hours every day. And this was just heaven for me. But obviously that was about us more than them. What about you, Belle?
Well, I just hauled mine around Vietnam for a week. I thought it would be a good destination for her. It has great food, some fun cultural experiences. But then we did negotiate so she could lay around the hotel pool in the mornings while I was out working. There are only so many historic sites and temples you can foist upon a teen. Then we go out on an adventure together in the afternoon. So she had some input as to what we did. But would I allow her to choose the destination of our family holiday? If she's paying, sure. But while I'm coughing up, I'm calling the shots. You're listening to The World Awaits. Subscribe through our website at theworldawaits.au.
This week I chat to Belle, and we're off to Greece and Bulgaria, where she travelled using a Eurail pass, exploring the food culture of such great cities as Thessaloniki in northern Greece and Plovdiv in Bulgaria.
Hey, well, it's been an amazing trip, but it had 2 parts. So firstly, I flew into Athens, and then I drove down to the Peloponnese Peninsula because I was reviewing the new Mandarin Oriental Hotel in Costa Navarino down on the south coast. So this is mainland Greece. And the Peloponnese has three peninsulas, and I was staying on one of those. The main towns in this area include Pylos and Methone, which are loaded with history from ancient ruins to medieval castles. The super atmospheric Methone Castle was built by the Venetians in 1209. Did you know the Venetians were ruling this part of the coastline? I know, right? So they had it for about 300 years until the Ottomans took it over. They came back in, went back out. It's just the most beautiful, beautiful location. And we don't talk about it that much because everybody's so focused on the islands and they tend to stay away from mainland Greece.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, that's the thing. I just love hearing about these sorts of places because, and this is the great thing about everywhere you travel, it's always somewhere a little off the beaten track. And I just love the fact that, that you were in this place that some people wouldn't have even heard of. A lot of people would never have heard of, actually. And also, everyone knows the Mandarin Orientals are great hotels. But what made that one a standout? What was sort of different and special about that one?
Well, it's been open for just over a year. It's got 51 suites and 48 pool villas. I was lucky enough to score a pool villa. So when I woke every morning to look out over the pool, I was then looking past it into Navarino Bay, which, because, I love a good history hit, it was the site of the last naval battle fought by sailing ships in 1827, which marked the beginning of the Greek War of Independence.
So cool.
So cool. So, you just had this incredible sweep of beach that you looked out at a bay, and this beautiful deepwater bay. And one of the really interesting parts of it is the food side, because I was there. Well, it was all about food. It was basically 2 weeks of eating myself for second backside. So in here,
what about the run? Didn't you do a run while you were there?
I did a run. Yeah, the first day I got up and went for a run with the personal trainer. She did not even break a sweat. It was already like 29 degrees, and she was just trotting along lightly.
Where did you run?
We ran around the perimeter of the Mandarin Oriental because this Costa Navarino is a region. It has been developed. There's already a W hotel there. There's been marinas developed, there's golf courses and stuff like that. And the Mandarin Oriental is like the next stage of this. So we went for a jog around that. We go past, we went through the golf course, but then we're going past these ancient olive groves, and it's still really embedded in that. And the interesting thing about those olive groves is that the olives and the fruit from these and the oils appear on the table in the restaurant. So
yeah, I love that.
Even though you're at an international restaurant, it is really grounded in the food from that area. And I spent a lot of time with the executive chef, Bertrand Valgueras, and he has run Michelin star restaurants in the past. He stayed on site before it opened to find local farmers and fishermen so that he could supply everything from the most spectacular sheep's yogurt I've ever eaten. You know, that very Greek thing of having yogurt with honey and walnuts as a breakfast. It was just astonishing. And local fish, all of the herbs, most of the herbs were sourced from within a 200-meter radius of the hotel. Meter, we're not talking kilometers.
That's great.
All the fish came from the bay, like you could see where the fish came from.
And it's not just important. It's obviously vitally important as far as when it comes to food miles, and but also it means that the food's just so much better because it's just literally so fresh.
Oh my God, the tomatoes! We've just come out of winter here in Melbourne, so we've got these nasty pale little things. They're just like, we had a running tomato theme. Like, they are just perfect and precious and
well, all the acidity from those tomatoes would have broken down all the food that you were, those kilos that you were.
I'm doing myself then. Can I tell you, one of the things, they have spectacularly great food. They also have a pizza omakase restaurant. So it's like having a degustation of pizza. It was incredible. The pizza is made on site. There's only like 12 seats. You're sitting around a bar where the pizza oven is. They've got a chef from Napoli, which of course is the home to the best pizza. And those tomatoes then appeared on it. You have not had a margarita like you would have. It was just incredible. So the food, everything is just so.
Pizza to rival Italy, you reckon?
Well, the guy was using those techniques. He's using but he's just using all of the local produce that's there, the anchovies from nearby. And, oh, God, it was so good. And we just stuffed ourselves on incredible pizzas and drank local wines, which was really a great experience. And, like all of Greece, you have to make sure you're somewhere fabulous when the sun is setting, so you catch that golden light on the water. And I would have said go up to the hilltop spa and watch it from the infinity pool, and you just see the sun sinking down over the
beautiful
islands out behind you. Absolutely beautiful.
So the next part of your trip, how did you end up going from there to get to Bulgaria, and how long did that take? Because I have a little bit of insider knowledge of how long that took you, and I was very impressed on you when you first arrived, the fact that you drove that distance on your own, but you drove back again. So tell us about what the distance was to get from there back to where you were going.
I did pick up a hire car in Athens, and I was thinking, gosh, I haven't driven on the other side of the road forever. But, how bad can it be? How bad can Athens traffic be? Like honestly,
with jet lag.
With a bit of jet lag. I just had like a coffee that could you could stand your spoon up in. And it was like, right, that's it. And just thundered on down the highways down to the Peloponnese. Which takes about 3.5 hours to drive. So it's a solid clip. And, you just get into the swing of it. And so I drove from Athens down to Costa Navarino, spent my beautiful time in the Mandarin Oriental, drove back up. And from there, I was on the second part of my trip, which was this slow travel, slow food adventure. So I ditched the hire car and I teamed up with Eurail, who sells rail passes all the way through Europe. So from there, I was catching local trains from Athens to Thessaloniki in the north of Greece and then on to Bulgaria.
Amazing. So how does that Eurail pass work? We did touch on that a little bit because you said that those kids were on those similar passes. But tell us a bit. Obviously, it works for 15 and 16-year-olds, so it must be pretty easy to use.
Well, yeah, you get an app. So they're, of course, intuitive with the app. But what it means is you can plan your route. And let's say you buy a pass. The pass that I had was a first-class pass for unlimited train travel for 15 days. And you've got either a month or 2 months to use. So you've got 15 travel days in a 1 or 2 month period. So you can hop on and hop off during that day, or you can, use it on overnight sleepers as well. And it goes to 30,000 destinations across 33 European countries. So you can it's designed to do cross-border travel and take the pain out of it. So what I reckon that mum did was probably help her kid plan his trip, from Brussels and Paris and stuff like that. You load it into the app and then you activate your day travel as you go. So yeah, it's really quite amazing.
It does sound really easy. And it's all about slowing it down, right? So put a slow travel in there and then you don't have to drive. But what about when you're actually in those places? How do you get around then?
Well, the aim of it was to try to, keep our, to keep the carbon footprint down. Australians, we've got to make that initial flight over anyway. But once you're there, using public transport, there's using the metros when you're in the cities, trying to avoid using taxis. So walking from the train stations to the hotels. And the great thing about, when you're on rail is you don't have to check in or anything like that. You just get to the station 5 or 10 minutes beforehand, get into your carriage and you're gone. It doesn't have that, can I say, incredibly onerous level of bureaucracy that airports have done because, oh my goodness, I'm fried for the amount of passport controls and customs checks and all of that sort of thing. The only time we did have a check was when we crossed over the border from Greece to Bulgaria. So I mean, the whole thing kicked off in Athens, which has just got such an incredible, huge energy. It's got the Acropolis and all of those other ancient Greek sites. But then it's got fabulous art galleries. It's got a really vibrant street scene. And in the warmer months, which we're still in, everyone's on the street, sipping coffee, eating simit, which are these sort of knots of sesame seed bread rings. And there's a really strong slow food scene starting to happen here. And then from there, we trained up to Thessaloniki of a couple of hours. And look, what I love about Thessaloniki, and when I put stuff up on my Instagram, I had heaps of people saying the same thing. Love this place, love it. It's so layered. It's Greek, but then it's got Balkan undertones, and then you see the Ottoman or the Turkish influence in the architecture. You see it in the food, and food. Thessaloniki is the most famous for being the home of the bougratsa, which is that layered custard-filled pastry that's usually eaten for breakfast, and it's home of the souvlaki. Yay! So thank you, Thessaloniki, for bringing that to us. Don't mind a little soup. I don't know about you, Kirsty, but
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And look, interestingly, Thessaloniki's also got a strong Jewish history, and you'll find that in such restaurants as Olympos Noosa, which was a brewery. It's been a cinema. It's been one of the best restaurants in town for 70 years or so, and we were exploring some of the dishes from all of those different periods of history and the people that have brought those food traditions together. And this trip, we did things like we went to an incredible village called Rachi, which is south of Thessaloniki, and there we met farmers who raise Greece's indigenous black pig. Stay with me here. They feed them on olives to create this unique meat. Think of it like, how Spain has the Iberico pork, which they feed the pigs acorns. So this is like the Greek version of it. It's not well known. It's something that the pigs were almost extinct. They'd pretty much been hunted out. They'd been bred out. It was cheaper and easier just to get that sort of, that your standard sort of domestic pig. But this is a really unique, it is indigenous to Greece. And so we met the owners of this incredible pork farm, and then we went to a local winery and we sat beneath these wild chestnut trees where the winemakers and the farmers shared this incredible food spread out on long tables, gorgeous local wine, pork being cooked on an open flame fire, and it was just magical.
And did the pork taste like olives?
It was, I'm not a big pork eater, but it was the best I've ever eaten. Hand on heart. Absolutely hand on heart. It was astonishing. And then you had more beautiful tomatoes and more gorgeous feta, and the wine matches perfectly with it because everything is from the same terroir. It's from the same soil. So it's all in absolute harmony. It was just a magical experience.
You're making me very hungry. And from there, you crossed the border to Bulgaria. So tell us a bit about what makes Bulgaria such a great place to visit.
Well, I've got to say, the last time I was in Bulgaria was a really long time ago. I was backpacking and camping, and it was a whole different ball game. It's really overlooked, a really, really overlooked part of Europe. But what you'll find now is Ryanair flies in there. So you'll find Brits are flying into winter for the cheap skiing. It's really one of the cheapest destinations to ski in Europe. And the Black Sea resorts are party towns for the kids. But we're all about the food and wine in the capital, Sofia, and the second city of Plovdiv. So Sofia, you're in the land of gold-topped domes, of Orthodox cathedrals. You can pick up a little Soviet war memorial sold in the street market. So it's still got all of that history behind it. The streets are dings of trams everywhere. So I felt very at home being a Melburnian. And we went looking for, Bulgarian food. So we went back to super traditional foods, like so many different types of white and yellow cheeses. I found it really fascinating. Everybody eats a salad called shopska salad, which is kind of like a Greek salad, but they grate white cheese over the top of it. It was actually invented during the communist era as a national salad because, Greece has got a national salad. Bulgaria needs its own national salad. I don't know what Australia's would be. And they are also masters of the slow cooked lamb dish, which is perfect for this slow food, slow travel adventure.
Yeah, maybe a bit of beetroot and egg on a bit of four leaf. See the Australian stuff.
Beetroot. It wasn't a big beetroot thing, I was kind of like, it was kind of there, but also too. So we were there in coming into autumn in the harvest. So things like those root vegetables are going to, because it's so seasonal, that's going to be your winter. You're going to see all of those root veggies coming on in the winter menus. But we were still in the last days of summer. It was sort of hovering around the 30-degree mark. It was just
No, I'm talking about
beautiful.
Australian's national salad. You were asking
Oh,
what
the
Australian.
beetroot.
Yes,
Speaking of the beetroot, like the
beetroot,
communist
bit
thing.
of beetroot, bit of boiled egg, bit of mayo, bit of mayo squeezed on the top. There we go.
Instead, the Aussie burger. Why would you have like a beetroot and pineapple on a burger? Maybe that's
Anyway, back to it. Tell us a bit more about Plovdiv, because it sounds amazing. It sounds like it was such an incredible city to end your trip on.
Yeah, it's about 3 hours from Sofia by train, and it's got this incredible history. The hotel I stayed at, the Visualisa Hotel, was a former cigar factory because there's a lot of tobacco grown in Bulgaria. And it's set up on the hills looking across to another hill where the gorgeous old town is built. So it's a university city, and it's already vibrant, but it really took off when it was named the 2019 European City of Culture. And that prompted the city to renovate its 18th century old houses, which you wander through. It's a real fire burner. So like I was hitting my step counter. And these gorgeous old townhouses, which then they've got crafts and traditional musical instruments and things like that. So you go in and explore them, and you meet the people that are playing, flutes, or they might be blacksmithing or embroidery and stuff like that, all through this old town. But the whole city is still built around ancient Roman ruins as well. So it's got these just literally layers. Like you look down, you think you're looking down a hill, but you're actually looking down because there's a series of Roman columns built onto the side of this, the side of the town. It's just gorgeous.
Yeah, it sounds amazing, and it sounds like that whole part, the Bulgaria part of the trip, would be suited to quite a few people because obviously foodies, but people that love history and culture and and want that sort of immersive cultural experience as well. Is that sort of the key, you think?
I think that if you're looking for history and culture, it really gives it really gets into depth with that. That's its key thing. I mean, it's got fabulous cobblestone streets full of outdoor restaurants, and the people are so generous and warm. I was actually really surprised at how warmly we were welcomed. And every time you said you're Australian, everyone's like, "Oh, like that is like mind-blowingly far away." But they're really innovative. They've got natural wine bars, with their local wines, because there's a lot of indigenous types of grape in this area. But I think the history really is key for this area. Yeah, absolutely. Mm-hmm.
Well, it's been so great to hear all about your adventures, Belle, and we will post the stories as they're published in the media in the coming months, probably starting with how Belle took 3.5 days to get home. And we'll also put the restaurants in the show notes. And for more information about Eurail, visit eurail.com, and also visit Belle's Instagram, Globa_Salsa.
Our tip this week is all about the world's best sunsets. So a new study by influencer marketing platform Heapsy reveals the city with the most Instagrammable sunsets is Paris, with more than 144 million hashtags, with locations like the Eiffel Tower and Pont Alexander III popular sunset spots. Not surprising too, because it's just been in the Olympics, so that will give it a bit of a boost.
Bump it up,
but
yeah.
In second place was Dubai, which is just Instagram crazy. There were 127 million hashtags thanks to famous sunset spots like the Burj Khalifa and Jumeirah Beach.
Loved the Burj Khalifa, even though my husband nearly passed out when we were up there. He literally went like quite wide, and we thought he just had to go down because he couldn't handle it. And then the lift was swaying so much, he doesn't cope with heights. And that was quite challenging for him. But yeah, amazing, obviously views from up there, and an incredible sunset. Los Angeles came in third with 86 million Insta hashtags, with the Santa Monica Pier a standout spot, as you would expect, because it's so pretty. And Barcelona came fourth with photos captured frequently at Park Güell and Barceleta Beach. Both spots I've just been to fairly recently, and have to say they are pretty special sunsets.
Well, the US appeared again with San Fran coming in fifth place. Sunset spots like Twin Peaks and Baker Beach contributed to the city's 33 million Instagram hashtags and helped draw in 45 million tourists annually, on par with LA. And Cannes in France ranked sixth with La Croisette and Ile de Saint-Marguerite, popular places for a sunset view. Where else, Kirsty?
Madrid, Istanbul and Honolulu all rounded out the top 10, and they all sound like incredible places to see a sunset, although I haven't been to Istanbul. Have you seen a sunset there, Belle? I bet you have.
I have seen many sunsets. Well, it's got such a distinctive, magnificent skyline. It's unmistakable. And it also has many, many great rooftop bars to watch the sun setting. Otherwise, you could make sure that you're on top of Galata Tower in the popular Belle district, which is across in the Golden Horn, if you want to catch a good sunset.
Amazing. And can I drop on just a little local sunset spot? So Smith's Beach on Phillip Island has incredible sunsets. The entire sky turns into a sort of canvas of orange and pink, and because it's over the surf beach, it just reflects off the water, and it's just so pretty.
I do love a good sunset from my beach on the Mornington Peninsula, and that's probably going to be my plan for the summer holidays. No more flying for a little while.
If you'd like to help support our production costs, you can buy us a coffee at coffee.com/theworldawaits. That's ko-fi.com/theworldawaits, so we can continue to bring you inspirational travel interviews with the world's best. There are more than 8,200 islands in Australia, and next week I'm taking you on a journey of discovery of our nation's best islands with author of Ultimate Island Escapes, Emma Shaw.
And we also love a rating and a review on Apple Podcasts. Click onto our profile, scroll down to the bottom to ratings and reviews, and if you're feeling it, hit those 5 stars. And if you're listening on Spotify, go to our main page and click on the 3 dots underneath our photo, or simply drop us a line at hello@theworldawaits.au. We'd love to hear from you. That's a wrap for The World Awaits this week. Click to subscribe anywhere you listen to your favourite pods. And where can people find you, Kirsty?
I'm at Kirsty Wrights on Instagram. That's KIRSTIE Wrights, WRITES. And where can people find you, Belle?
You can find me at globalsalsa.com or on Insta at global_salsa.
Thanks for listening. See you next week.